a lot of the times the best contractors are the biggest control freaks, right? Like they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, they want to be able to do things their own on the fly as they come up with an idea, move very quickly. And yes, absolutely, this empowers contractors to do that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Bannister, and today I'm with Richard Willard, and Richard is the Vice President of Customer Success for BuyMax and BuyFin, and he's going to share ways that he can help, and his organizations are helping contractors just like yourself be able to navigate, through these tough times of financial unknowns, but also through the BuyMax organization. So, Richard, thank you so much for being here. Super excited to kind of dive into this. I'm all about giving back and helping this industry as much as possible. And it sounds like both of the organizations that you're connected with do exactly that. So welcome.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's great to be here. I'm a big fan of the show. I've listened to some great episodes. I love the Mike Claudio episode that you just had like a month or two ago. Great episode. And yeah, that's right. So VP of Sales and Success for BuyMax. BuyMax is a group purchasing organization that specializes in working with contractors across the trade brands and outside of that. We have about $3 billion in buying power that we leverage on behalf of the contractor. And today we're going to spend a lot of time, hopefully, Jonathan, talking about BuyFin, which is our consumer financing app, and really talk about how it differentiates itself in the marketplace to help contractors be more successful, right, every day.
So let's dive into it. Let's start with BuyMax. How long's it been around and kind of what got it started? And then obviously there's things that you guys have seen over the years, and the reason maybe probably why BuyFin was created from some of those challenges that you're seeing contractors go through right now.
BuyMax has been around for more than a decade, and it's had different iterations. So I joined BuyMax a little over 3 years ago, and over those last 3 years, what BuyMax has really done is focusing on making it easier for contractors to save money on everything that they do, every dollar they spend. So the simplest way to say it, Jonathan, is that for every dollar that a contractor spends to run their business, whether it's on fleet, insurance, products, consumer financing, credit card processing, we have vendors to help them save money on those vendors, right? And so we just try to really empower them. I like to think about it from the expression, never hear the pioneer get shot in the back, right? So all these contractors who have just like hustled to have their business and get it out there and be successful, they're really on an island by themselves, right? Yeah. And so being a part of a group like BuyMax puts a lot of other people behind them and empowers their success and ensures that they just can't get blindsided by their vendors the way that they can when they're on their own.
So I know that the buying power, obviously there's different groups and, because I just want to understand this a little better.
Sure.
I know there's organizations and groups out there like coaching and training organizations, and obviously they leverage their buying power throughout the group. Is this something very similar, but except it's more of you're just part of a membership through y'all's group and you get that buying power, so you're not necessarily tied into also having to get consulting and coaching and these other things in order to get it?
Yeah, that's right. So for BuyFin, which we're going to talk a lot about, you don't have to be a member of anything. Well, you can just use BuyFin as a consumer financing app. But with BuyMax, yes, you would have a membership, and that membership allows you access to all 300 plus BuyMax vendors and all the advantages that they bring to you, right? And so whether that's getting rebates from the distributors that you already use, or let's say you're an HVAC company, the OEM manufacturer that you partner with, or whether it's getting bigger discounts from Home Depot or on recruiting or HR processes or payroll.
Yeah.
All of those are components of what we do and what we provide. And so I think the nice way to think about BuyMax, Jonathan, is that the only variable that could come from working with BuyMax is that a contractor would save money, right? There's nothing else that could happen. If they weren't going to save money, they literally would never work with us. And so in an economy where everything costs more than it used to, man, right? Like it's crazy. I tell the story where I went out for wings recently, and it was like $2 a wing, and I was having one of those old man moments where I was like, I remember wings were 25 cents. And
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad about it, but I just couldn't believe it was happening. And but in an economy where like literally everything as a contractor costs you more than it cost you a year ago or 2 years ago, or maybe even 6 months ago, having a partner where the only option is that you would save money it's a great tool at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So
I love it. And so when we wrap up later on, I'll make sure to get links and things that I can provide to folks. Cause I think, how many members do you guys currently work with or have?
it's a great question. I'm not sure about the total number of members. I just know the total ASR is about $3 billion, right?
Okay.
So I don't know if I could put a number on it correctly. Sorry.
No, I would just definitely love to pass
Yeah.
this on to our clients because
Sure.
any way that they can save money.
Yeah. And what happens a lot, Jonathan, is that sometimes we connect with other groups, like whether it's like you mentioned, a coaching group
Yeah.
or possibly a smaller franchising group, right? Where we really just empower that group with the products and services that we offer. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So how is that, 12 years, where does it kind of transition to over that period? And, what are some of the big things on the horizon for BuyMax? Is there a big goal or a big product or, thing happening at the end of the rainbow here or what?
Yeah. So as a guy that works in the space, right, with the contractors from Cornerstone, like, that when things are good or things are bad, contractors share information, it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's just no way to contain data when it goes down that path. I'm always amazed at how fast it spreads actually.
Yeah.
So I'd say that right now, like the current iteration of BuyMax, what's great is that we've developed such a great suite of vendors and services that also are wonderful from a service standpoint, right? So that's a big problem, is that you provide a vendor and they have great pricing, but they don't have great service, and that backfires and works against the overall experience. And so now, after this many years, what we've got a great group of vendors, and we have a really high quality service partnership. But things that are on the horizon, so we're building out a fleet portfolio platform. So where you would log into that, you would select what brand you work with. It would tell you all of the vehicles that populate for that brand, the correct upfitting, the wrap for it, and almost like an easy button, it would give you the ability to sort of press it, get that vehicle, get financing for it, and then just move forward. So that's one of the big things we have on the horizon for 2025, I'd say. And then that'll expand outward. It'll expand everything to almost a full-on marketplace where anything that you need as a contractor, you'd have a portal you could log into and have access to it.
That's super. The easy button, I feel like, is what people need. Especially in times when a lot of these companies are, their operations are not 100% dialed in, and they're scrambling around, and it's like they need to add to the fleet, but they know what it's like going down to the car lot and to do the negotiations and get the runaround. And I know I've heard of contractors in the last, year or so, especially when the inventory was super low, that people were driving all over the country to find, certain deals on adding to the fleet. So
yeah, that was unprecedented, Jonathan. That whole shortage of vehicles just with the microchips was crazy. I don't think hopefully we never see anything like that again. But yeah, you're right. I mentioned this earlier, but making it easy for contractors is really one of the most critical components of what we do. If it was good but hard, people wouldn't do it anyway, right? Contractors are doing so much at all times. Giving them the ability to just make something simple is a big deal, right? And we work very hard to make that happen.
So do you, what are some of the bigger things that, price breaks or savings? I know you mentioned, just to give people an idea, when you say, look, what I can tell you is, if you're spending money within your business, and what I can guarantee you is that, through BuyMax, you're going to save money throughout your company. But what are some of those key things that you see? Let's say some of the more well put together, shops that kind of have their stuff together, but they definitely see BuyMax as the partner worthwhile because they're able to save on these particular things when, because I think some people may go, well, for a $2-3 million shop, this may be helpful, right? But we're 10, 15 million. We get the best pricing on X, Y, and Z and everything else, but I'm sure there's always something that you guys have better pricing on and better relationships, with these companies. So what are some of those things to give everybody an idea?
Yeah. First of all, that's an awesome question. Thank you for asking it. And so let me say this. We love those shops, and we have a ton of those shops that are in the 10 to, let's say, $40 million price range that are big customers of ours. I think the things that come to my mind initially for them would be, one, distributors, right? So we work with several of the bigger distributors around the country, whether it's somebody like Ferguson or Elite Electric or HD Supply, and we are getting them better discounts for already using the distributors that they're already using. So better rebates.
Yeah.
So they're going to get a rebate back for doing what they're already doing. One is insurance. We've got a great insurance partner. We've got big category discounts. I know you do a lot, Jonathan, in the HVAC and the plumbing space, and in those categories. The way that it works now for insurance is incredibly difficult for contractors, right? Because you're paying your employees more, your workers' comp is more, your auto insurance is through the roof. It's ridiculous at this point what people are paying for auto insurance, not to mention your GL. So having an insurance policy that really works, we sometimes save people $100,000 a year on insurance, right? So wow. It's a really big deal. Everything that's in the HR spectrum, especially payroll, we have a great payroll relationship with ADP with a really strong lifetime discount and some other great partners. And then I would say the final one would be private branded products. So same scenario. So if you're sticking with that HVAC and plumbing scenarios, or even going into electricians, we sell some really high-end products that you could private label to your company. And now you're installing a private label version of the best in market product that can't be shopped by the homeowner, price shopped in the home, and empowers your tech to really be successful and confident when they're presenting in home, right? So top of the head, those are probably the 4 or 5.
No, I love that. And so some of those private label products, those companies have kind of made that deal, exclusive through you guys, and then obviously gives you all the ability to private label and stick somebody else's brand on some of these products.
That's right. Again, the scope of what we do with them from a business standpoint allows us to be very functional as a sort of for the contractor to get them the things that they need. Yeah.
I love that. Those were some great answers there. And again, perfect for those shops that have their stuff together, have great pricing, but this could truly be for every single business out there. Again, save them money in some kind of way.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about BuyFin. Like where did that solution, what was the major problem that y'all saw there in the industry that made you guys want to come up with a solution to help?
Yeah. So I love talking about BuyFin. I'm excited to have this part of the conversation, right? So we do a lot with consumer financing, and every contractor that's growing at all has to have great consumer financing partners, right? And what we kept running into were the problems that the contractors were bringing to us about what they needed to have a better tool. And that's what BuyFin is. BuyFin is a better tool. And in the contracting space, we know the tool makes all the difference, right? And so in its simplest form, BuyFin is a consumer financing app that allows contractors to get more jobs and have a higher average ticket size, right? That's the 3-second. If you think about this from a national park signage perspective, where it's like a 3-second, 30-second, 3-minute version of a sign, that's the 3-second version, right? But the 30-second version of it is that all of the things that are mission critical to your business that consumer financing affects, whether it's cash flow, homeowner reviews and user experience, employee retention, all of the tools in BuyMax impact and affect those things in a positive way, right? And so that's the great version of it. Now, hopefully we could talk through like the longer version of what specifically that means, right?
I want to dive into this as much as we possibly can because, look, financing is a hot topic these days. There's a lot of options out there, but I hear a lot of, like you and I were talking earlier, of how quickly things spread, if it's good or bad. I have seen some of these companies, put up on a golden platter and promoted, and I've seen some completely ripped to pieces and probably killed their reputation.
Yeah.
Promising, a lot of times it's promising one thing, what they're able to get in approvals, or, the process was supposed to be this soft pull, answer given in 30 seconds. And then really it's a lot of back and forth and phone calls and communicating. And so it just rubs these people the wrong way, because you got sales guys out in the field, wanting the easiest solution and the easiest access to be able to get people approved and moved on. So kind of walk me through. Let's dive into it.
Okay. So BuyFin, right? BuyFin, BuyFin.com is the website. It's a great website to get to. It has a ton of information on it. But so what I would say differentiates BuyFin in the marketplace, let's start with Jonathan. Let's start with rates, because that's where every contractor wants to start. Right? So there's more than 40 different plans available to a contractor from a loan perspective, and they range all different types of loan, from 4 different no interest, no payment loans ranging up to 24 months to, 12-year installment loans with a 0 dealer fee for the contractor.
Wow.
And multiple long-term loans that have a 0 dealer fee. So a contractor knows. So some contractors, Jonathan, they want to pay the least amount of money for their consumer financing. And so if that's the case, BuyFin has the opportunities to cover that. Some contractors are working off of a blended rate component. They're saying, listen, I know some of these loans are going to cost me more, but these are the things that my clients want, and I want to provide them, like no interest, no payment loans. And then if that's the case, great opportunities there. But from a rate perspective, the contractor has a lot of options and great control over those options. So unlike other financing opportunities with consumer financing, Jonathan, you have a dashboard and a portal. You could set up your own offers. You could choose what to include, which loans in which offer. You could change them at any time. So your office staff or your management team has the ability to really control what loan options your clients are seeing from your techs. Total control over that, right? Okay. Without ever having to interact with anybody. Second huge advantage is cash flow, right? So there's 2 different components of cash flow here. So one is BuyFin allows for stage funding. So you're a contractor and you're going to do a loan and you need money up front, but the homeowner doesn't have the money to give you up front. Well, they get approved for this loan, and then you could take a deposit from the loan and rather than from the homeowner, right? And you could take multiple deposits. So for example, we work with people in the pool industry or in the turf industry where these jobs take a longer amount of time. They might take 2 or 3 different draws against the loan over the course of getting the job done so that they can pay off subcontractors and move things forward, right? Yeah. But you have the ability, you determine that. It's up to you. There's no limit on the percentage that you take up front, but you could do anything you want, and you have that ability, and that funds you right away. So if you submit a loan to be funded, like you've completed a job and you submit that loan to be funded, if you submit it before 2:30 Eastern time, it's going to ACH into your account the same day, right? So you could have same day payment on jobs, which is great. If not, it's the next morning. So from a cash flow perspective, you can take deposits, you could get a faster ACH. It really allows you to be more agile with your jobs and perhaps even take on more jobs, right? Because your cash flow is now moving forward at a much more rapid pace. Next thing I'd say is the experience in the home, both for the tech and for the homeowner. So one of the things that's unique about BuyFin is that the tech is sending a link to the homeowner, and the homeowner is completing their application on their own device, whether it's a phone or a computer. So they're not entering their social security number into someone else's device. Nobody really wants to do that. The homeowner has control over it on their end. It's a very intuitive application. It's what you would expect: name, address, the pieces. And for the tech isn't asking a bunch of questions, right? They're sending over a link. The homeowner's completing it. And then within that aspect of the technology, there's several wins. So one, you mentioned soft pull credit. It's not only a soft pull, Jonathan, but it's a soft pull to the penny on payment, period. So you could say a homeowner's going to apply. They're going to have a soft pull credit. They're going to know to the penny what their monthly payment would be. And it never becomes a hard pull until they actually accept the loan, and it's guaranteed not to change the payment. The payment is guaranteed off the soft credit pull. And so you could work with the homeowner on that. Now, when a homeowner applies, they're automatically going to get approved for more than you've asked for, and they will see that in the app. So it gives the contractor the ability to upsell during that period as well, which is great. And they can see the payment difference as they're looking at it. So maybe it's $320 a month and then $340 a month. They could do more of the work than they were planning on doing, and that $20 a month, it makes sense for them to do that, right?
So let me stop you 1 second.
Sure.
On the part on the application and making that to where, like you were saying, it's on the customer's device, they can be filling out their thing. Is that something when y'all were doing y'all's kind of research and opening up the BuyFin model, were y'all looking for those things that you heard feedback from customers saying, we don't like this part, we don't like holding the technician's iPad and feel like we're putting in our, private information into their tablet, and where is that stuff being stored? Even though they're going to go, no, that's the financial company's software, and this is part of their application. No different than you're applying for a credit card, except, I'm just giving you the device to do it on. Is this things that you had heard?
Over and over again, repeatedly, right?
Okay.
And so not just from the homeowner, though, Jonathan, but absolutely from the homeowner, right? The homeowner, nobody wants to put their social security number on someone else's device. There's just too much fraud in the world today. And while contractors are not like that, it's just an uncomfortable environment, right?
Yeah.
And so creating a user experience for your homeowner that they like and feel comfortable with, mission critical, and really influences the nature of your positive reviews and how people perceive you as a credible company or not, right? So what we all want to do is build trust, right? I want to build trust right now in this conversation. You're building trust with your listeners. Contractors want to build trust. And so that credibility and building trust is paramount, and having the homeowner complete the application on their own device is a component of that most people don't get to take advantage of. The other side of that is that the techs ask for this, right? So the comfort advisors, the techs, the people in their home, the awkward process of asking people about their income or their social security number, it just doesn't sit well, right? It's so much easier to let that person do it silently while the tech is doing something else. They don't even have to be standing next to them. And so it really makes the entire in-home experience positive, both for the contractor's representative as well as for the homeowner.
Okay. And then on the part with the option. So on the, when is that something else that you've typically see? Again, I know enough about this from clients of mine saying, like, we've got some frustration with our current lending options, and
Sure.
But is it to where when we ask the client, sometimes we'll say, well, they want to run some offers or some campaigns for a new system replacement, and then obviously we've got to let them tell us what they want the offer to actually be. We can put everything else together, but we're not going to put some offer out there that they're not going to honor, and they get sued for it. And so typically what I hear is, well, we need to check with our lender. We need to see which rates are available, which kind of specials or promotions that the finance company is running at this particular time. What you're saying is you have heard, I guess, from feedback from these contractors are saying, we would like to have the control and to see, if this is everything that's available, we get to pick and choose. Plus, we get to give this to our salespeople and comfort advisors to say, here's what your options are. You log into this portal and you get to see everything.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, I'm sure you work with a lot of contractors like this, but a lot of the times the best contractors are the biggest control freaks, right? Like they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, they want to be able to do things their own on the fly as they come up with an idea, move very quickly. And yes, absolutely, this empowers contractors to do that. So if you wanted to create, so for example, let's say Labor Day was coming up and you wanted to create a Labor Day offer from any of the offers that are in the portfolio, boom, you just go ahead and do it, and you can do it on your own. What's also nice is you could label the offers in a way where your techs can see the names of them, but the homeowner cannot, right? So
Right.
you can say, this is the lowest possible payment offer, or this is a no interest. This is the same as cash offer, or this is our July 4th weekend special offer, right? You can make it very easy for your people to understand what they're showing and have several different offers and present the right one in each scenario. Some contractors do this by dollar size, Jonathan. So they'll say, all right, if we're doing a sub $5,000 job, we're going to offer these plans. If it's 5 to 10, it'll be these plans. If it's an over $10,000 job, these are the plans that we want them to see because of how that impacts the contractor, right? And so that control, that ability to know what it's going to cost you in scenarios, yeah, it's invaluable for contractors, and they've certainly asked for it. And I think it's a really hard thing for them to get with other tools.
I love it. Okay, so let's go into, the next benefit or cool little feature.
Yeah. So I was starting to talk a little bit about max approvals, but I'll say a couple other things around that. So it's closed loop funding, which means that when a homeowner gets approved through that contractor, they can't use that money somewhere else. They can only use it with that contractor. They are going to get approved, Jonathan, for more than they asked for. And so let's just say hypothetically someone gets approved for $20,000 and it's a $10,000 job. The contractor has 5 months to use that additional $10,000 on the same loan, no new application or anything, right?
Oh,
so
wow.
they could market to their homeowner and then just go back into the home and do additional work. This is great if you're maybe sometimes it's great for add-on work. So you've installed an HVAC system, maybe you want to add some indoor air quality to it. That's a great way to go about this. It's also great if you have multiple trades under the same umbrella. So you go in as a plumbing company, you've installed some kind of water treatment system, and now you want to go back and work on, again, indoor air quality at that point. Boom, you could add it onto that same loan, and you could market to them off of that additional funds, right?
Wow.
The other thing that I think is really interesting about BuyFin that is helpful and that we've heard a lot of requests from contractors on is stipulations. So there are no stipulations in BuyFin. So when a homeowner is applying for a loan, so let's say you're in the home, Jonathan, and you're talking to the wife, for argument's sake, the husband is not in the house. All of the income from that house could be added to one person. So if the husband makes money, if there's an uncle that lives in the house that makes money, if the kids have jobs, right? Anything along the line, all that income goes into one application. So you don't need co-signers. You can do it all. And there is nobody that's going to ask for that proof of income. There's no stipulations on proof of income. There's no stipulations on proof of ownership. In fact, you don't have to be the homeowner, right? So if a 20-year-old kid has a place and they need a new system and they can't afford it and the parents are going to do the loan for them, that's fine. They could do that, right? So no stipulations on home ownership or anything along those lines. So it's really easy. A lot of our contractors use this, especially for mobile homes, right? So historically, it's been really, really hard to get consumer financing for mobile homes. And now, because of that lack of stipulations, you could do that, right? So it's a game changer in markets where that's a big part of their business as well.
So it sounds to me like y'all have taken feedback from people that were struggling to get people qualified for, like mobile homes. You were struggling to get people approved, for maybe more than what they needed. There was no extra leg room there to add on additional, IEQ products or, plumbing services if it was there for an HVAC install. So it sounds like y'all heard these things and was like, the other thing would be, taking everyone in that home, being able to take their income, but then also they don't even have to live in the home. It sounds like if you find someone, if they're credit worthy, they're going to get approved and there's going to be no questions asked. You can get that job done at that home. It doesn't have to be tied to, that person better lay his head inside this home. If he's going to be connected to the air conditioner, it's going to be put inside this home. Every
contractor listening to this podcast right now, Jonathan, remember somebody they didn't get approved because they couldn't prove income or they couldn't prove home ownership or because it was a mobile home. Every one of them, right? Every one of them has run into that obstacle. And so, we've got a better mousetrap, and that better mousetrap helps you get past those things. One other no stipulation, by the way, which I think is really mission critical, and we're seeing tremendous success with the contractor base on, is no stipulations on installations, right? Some companies are going to make you send over the SKUs or something of the product that you've installed, but you could do service work through BuyFin as well. And what this really allows contractors to do is have significantly bigger service ticket job sizes, right? So now you go into a home and they have a plumbing issue, or they have an HVAC issue, or even an electrical issue, right? And you could present financing options to them, and a lot of our contractors will present a must-do, should-do, total solution package, right? And now, because of the financing option, people that couldn't come up with $4,000 to get this have the ability to do more work, and the contractors are getting bigger tickets. We've seen 50 to 60% increases in average ticket size on the service side of the coin. And in an economy where some installations are down, right? Products are down, homeowners have less money than they've ever really had before. If you could increase your average ticket on the service side, that is a game changer, right? Because you're leaning into a heavy profit margin part of the business.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, no stipulations, you mean no stipulations. And apparently this has been a major challenge for people over the years. And y'all are just trying to simplify, the options and putting the control back into the contractor's hands, but at the same time, trying to make it as easy as you possibly can for the customer experience, because, anything that could cause friction, y'all are trying to find ways to simplify it and get the job approved and get the job done.
That's right. There's no paper anywhere in the BuyMax portfolio. It's fully digital platform. Everything you do is digital. The initial sign-up process is a digital sign-up process that takes 10 minutes to complete. We've eliminated all the paperwork that slows this down. Really, Jonathan, we've put so much time and effort into thinking about how do you just make it simple and eliminate as many obstacles as possible to give contractors the most opportunities to get jobs, right? Contractors that lived through, let's say, the late 2008, 2009 time period, where we had the same scenario where money was tight, homeowners were not in great shape, financing became mission critical. A contractor's ability to get their jobs bought was the differentiator in their success and staying alive for a lot of them, for smaller contractors especially, right? And I think we've re-entered that area now where your ability to get as many jobs bought at the highest possible ticket size is critical to your success and your ability to sort of weather what's happening economically right now.
And so let's touch on that. Like, what are y'all seeing in the last, let's call it 3 to 6 months, as far as, has funding or approvals tightened up on y'all's end? Because that's what I am hearing across my clients with other lenders that they're partnering with.
100%. Absolutely. Right. So banks are feeling the squeeze themselves, and they're passing that on to contractors, right? It's harder to get approvals. Some banks are raising their minimum FICO score. They're lowering what tier somebody might be in for an approval. It's harder to get money, period, right now than it's ever been really before. And so that's another nice piece of BuyFin, and let's say BuyMax in general, is that goes back to that pioneer gets shot in the back aspect of it. If you were, our BuyFin rates are going to be lower than the rates you would have going into a bank on your own. And there's less times when those rates would increase, right? Because we're dealing with a bigger portfolio. They don't just randomly change the way they might with some other financial institutions. But yeah, that's the case right now, Jonathan. And I know you're like, if you're hearing it from your guys, everyone's aware of this. This is not me broadcasting something that people don't know. It's just tougher to get money right now than it's ever been before. Yeah.
So, somebody that's coming, somebody's listening to this, they come over to you guys and they want to take a look. What would you, are people going to, is it one of those situations where Richard's going to go like, well, if you'd have came here 6 or 12 months ago, you'd have felt a better, cooler experience than you are now? But it's not just us, it's just across the board. Like, are people, going to run into some of the same things that, you're hearing across, or is there something positive you can say that BuyFin is seeing, an upward trend in this?
Yeah, BuyFin hasn't changed during this time period. So no, this is a great time. Right now is the best portfolio of rates and programs that we've had to offer. and the strongest time period. I'll tell you, you said one thing there, though, Jonathan, I want to lean into a little bit, which is somebody came and they were thinking about using BuyFin, right?
Yeah.
So some people might say to you, hey, yeah, just sign up. You've got nothing to lose. It doesn't cost you anything. But I'm not that guy. So one thing that's really different about this, and that this really came from contractors, and that we deal with on a daily basis, not just in BuyFin, but in every aspect of BuyMax, right, is that contractors need techs to be empowered, right? And so we really lean in heavily on the training aspects of BuyFin and consumer financing. So we're going to do a training for your in-office staff, for the people that use the platform and the dashboard, for them to understand how to set up offers, how to group those offers, how to present those offers. And we're going to do a training both on the sales aspect and the technical aspect for the people that are in home as well, right? We're going to make a major investment in your company and your team so that everybody feels really confident presenting consumer finance on every opportunity in the home, because that is going to get you more jobs at a higher average ticket size, right? And so we know that. We know that from our private branded product side. We know that from everything we do, that if you don't empower the techs to be successful, falls flat. Doesn't matter how much management likes it. You need the techs to love it, right?
100%. You and I both know if software that's not well trained and understood is never going to be used, and software not used is garbage. I mean, it's completely useless. So I think if you've got guys out in the field that aren't super comfortable talking about financing, talking about how smooth and easy and, how it, truly is a soft credit pool, but once you're approved for the same thing. Like, there's a lot of things that I listed out or wrote here on my notes that if the right person wasn't trained, your typical technicians aren't really comfortable probably talking about any of this. If we're talking about a comfort consultant or a salesperson, they will be a little more comfortable talking about, financing. I think what we're seeing more and more in the industry right now is that people are starting to realize that, techs may not be able to sell the best. And sometimes comfort consultants don't know enough about being a tech. And so they just come off as a straight salesperson. And sometimes that's not the right fit. So there is this new model kind of going around, Richard, like it's, they call it a call by call process. And so the call by call process is like the technician goes out. They're almost doing away with salespeople in the field. The salespeople are in the office, and the technician goes out, diagnoses the problem, but is in contact with this salesperson essentially at the office to say like, hey, here's what I've discovered. And then they kind of formulate together a plan of, all right, well, here's the 3 options you should give. But somewhere in that conversation, someone's got to start talking about financing at some point.
Right.
But regardless, I think, the training component of this is big. So what does that look like? What does training look like when y'all come in-house, and what do y'all feel from the issues or the challenges y'all seen in the past? Like, where is the biggest barrier there on the training part? Is it getting the techs comfortable just understanding how to use any kind of financing software or how to present it to the client? Or is it just getting out of their own way because they know how to fix stuff and they just don't really know how to talk about financing in general?
Yeah. So I think that really depends on the particular tech, right? Some are uncomfortable with the idea of presenting consumer financing. Some you really need to train on how to get to an offer and how to present an offer. Some need help on the sales aspect of it, of understanding. So like you said, a comfort advisor might recognize that this is a cash buyer and they're going to be more interested in the no interest, no payment option than they are a long-term installment loan. Or this is a person that really needs the lowest possible payment. I need to have them on my lowest possible payment offer.
Yep.
So we really want to lean into the sales aspect of that to help people recognize who they're talking to and make sure that they're presenting the right loan options for that individual.
Okay.
And, some locations tell us they want us to train their entire team at one time. We're happy to do that. If they want us, if it's a bigger organization, if it's a $25 million organization, we might train in 2 different groups to make it more functional, right? It's really whatever the contractor would like us to do. If they have a morning meeting and they want us to present in that morning meeting, great. We're gonna do whatever they need us to do to match how their training should and could work for them.
Okay.
Right? I don't want to pivot away from BuyFin, Jonathan, but one other thing I want to say here is that we've so thoroughly thought about every aspect of the contract in relation to this that we also do payment processing, right? So credit card processing. Every contractor is processing a huge percentage of their total revenue through credit cards. They're probably paying a ton of fees. It works against them right now in this environment, right, to pay more money for it. And so we're not just thinking about consumer financing, we're also thinking about credit card processing. And so whatever the case is, when we're talking to a contractor, when we engage them, we're trying to help that individual solve whatever their issues are for that individual location, rather than just some generalized contractor, right?
And so is, when you talk about the credit card processing, and then we talk, like, is that under the BuyFin model?
Yeah.
Or is it separate? Yeah.
Nope, under the BuyFin model, right? Yeah. So we have multiple vendors that we work with. We're going to make sure we match up the best opportunity to the best contractor. Again, white glove service to move tokens over and make this really simple for people. But same scenario as the consumer financing side. Make it easy for a contractor to save money and move forward with confidence, right? That's the goal.
So, what is your suggestion in somebody that, should you always have multiple options on the finance and relationship side? And what are some key things that you think that your financial like lending partner should have as far as easeability, usability, and things like that? Yeah, I mean, like, someone out there listening, what advice do you give them if they're a contractor?
Yeah, I think it's a contractor needs to have more than one consumer financing option for sure, right? Now they might have one that they significantly lean on and put most of their revenue into, but it doesn't make sense to just have one, because who knows, things can change with anybody, right? And so you want to be prepared for that. It's your business, you need to protect it. So yeah, I would say that. I would say what we mostly see is that contractors that sign up for BuyFin, they generally have another lending institution, and then they just move more and more of their consumer financing into BuyFin as they go by, right? And it's because of these things that we're talking about, Jonathan. The techs are telling them, hey, how great the feedback is. They're getting more approvals, they're getting more homeowners bought, and they're increasing their job size, right? So I would say that's definitely you have to really make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? It's that part of it's not about BuyFin or BuyMax, it's about the contractor. Was there a second part of that, Jonathan, that I missed?
No, I think just that, like, what are you're giving the advice to have a couple partners, but eventually, just like a manufacturer partner, you're gonna, you may have carriers, your, first provider, and, two or three other ones as backups. You're going to have the main one that you prefer to use because of the pricing, the reliability of the product, or the rebates that come with it. And it'll be no different. Like, they're going to look, more than likely, like you're saying, they tend to move more and more of the business over to BuyFin because of, the rates and probably the customer service and the experience, that they're seeing compared to the other ones.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, absolutely. And what I would say, Jonathan, is that BuyFin.com covers both the consumer financing and the credit card aspects of what we do, right? The website, it's a great resource and an easy way to connect with us to kind of get this information. There's case studies on there, so you could read from contractors what their experience has been like with BuyFin and how it's helped their business. And that plays as well as this conversation, right? You want to hear from other contractors about how this has helped them. And we recognize that. We're trying to get that out there to people.
BuyFin.com, so they can get registered for the financing relationship vendor part of it, but also for the credit card processing, but they can also see case studies.
Yeah, so they'll be able to submit themselves information. We're going to talk to them before they go live, just for underwriting purposes. We want to make sure that we communicate with everybody, make sure they're a good match, keep everybody safe in the environment, right? That's the credibility portion of this. But yeah, that's the right way to get connected to us. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, Richard, I appreciate it. That we've come to the end of the show where I'm gonna shoot some rapid fire questions at you. Just kind of give me the first thing that comes to mind, and then we'll wrap up with you, kind of letting everybody know one more time the best place to contact you and your team, whether for BuyMax or BuyFin. So Let's go to our rapid fire questions. All right. So Richard's childhood hero.
Muhammad Ali. Still my hero to this day. Absolutely.
Love it. Yeah. Let's see. I know you're down in Austin. Not sure where you're originally from, but beach or mountains?
Beach, and I'm from New York, and I grew up on Long Beach, which is the South Shore of Long Island. So I grew up on a great beach. It's now a part of the professional surfing tour. I'll go back there in August, and I can't wait. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it looks a little different in Austin than where you're from, I'm assuming. So
It does. I've been in Austin a really long time. No one's ever thought I was a Texan, though, Jonathan. No one's ever, not once has someone thought I was a native Texan. I don't radiate that vibe.
Famous person that you would invite to dinner. They could be dead or alive.
So I can't use Muhammad Ali, I guess.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's probably about to say the same person. So. Most adventurous thing that Richard's ever done.
Well, I'm an adventurous traveler. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Federated States of Micronesia. I've lived on the island of Bequia, which is in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I went to college for a year in Dublin, Ireland. I've traveled across a lot of the world, and I've kayaked on a glacial lake in Patagonia in the middle of winter. Yeah, I've had some really fun adventures from a travel perspective, and can't wait for the next one. Yeah,
that is super cool. It sounds like you've had some awesome experiences.
Yeah.
All right, and the last one is well, let's hear Richard's belief. Is there do we live amongst aliens, or are we the only thing on Earth?
Well, I really don't know the answer to that question. I think there's got to be aliens. I'm voting for aliens. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't think we're all that special. I think there's got to be something else out there, but
it does feel that way. I don't really know. And I've certainly met some people over the years that I thought could be aliens. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, Richard, what's the best way for people to reach you? BuyMax, BuyFin. Obviously, I know both websites you'll repeat again, but somebody that's got questions, and wants to speak to someone, what do you suggest?
I think BuyFin.com is the way to go. Even if you wanted to talk about BuyMax, if you come through the BuyFin portfolio, you'll get immediately connected to somebody very quickly, very responsively, and we'll make sure that we're talking to you about the things you want to talk about, right? And the other advantage of BuyFin is that you don't need to be part of BuyMax to use it, right? Anyone could use BuyFin. So there's no membership or anything along those lines. It's a free service for you to utilize.
I love it. Richard, thank you so much for being here. And, look, both companies sound like, you're going to save them money or give them options to an easier buyer experience. So thank you so much for being here, and happy to get some of these solutions in some of our contractors' hands.
Jonathan, it's a great show. Thanks for what you do for the industry. I think it gives a lot back, and it's much appreciated.
I do appreciate it, my friend.